that rattles the world without warning. The outbreak of COVID-19, which began on a low tempo, overwhelmed nations to a shutdown. Inevitably, big and small economies were humbled, with some currently managing the fallouts bordering on unemployment, bankruptcy, and recession. The resumption of social economic activities in Nigeria, which was done in phases, has reflected a growth in the nation's gross domestic product, even as government and business owners combat the limitations posed by the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Following the dawn of a new year, it is imperative that parameters required for a more stable financial landscape are evaluated. The outlook for the Nigerian economy in 2021 is the focus of Panorama today, coming to you live from the Lagos Network Center. I am Dotun Ogmiemi. Welcome on board. We begin on an economic environmental note where global leaders at the 2021 United Nations Climate Adoption Summit want urgent scaling up of funding for programs to build resilience and offer lasting solutions against the impact of major events such as droughts, floods, and rising sea levels. Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, says developing countries need an estimated $70 billion to build their adaptation plans, a figure that could reach up to $300 billion in 2030. Onengie Fineface reports.
Climate disasters, disturbed weather patterns, higher temperatures, and sea levels pose challenges to the global community. The Climate Adaptation Summit is a virtual meeting of world leaders to articulate how societies can adapt systems to safeguard the planet and ensure sustainable prosperity.
But recovery cannot be only for the developed world. We must expand the provision of liquidity and debt relief instruments to developing and middle-income countries that lack the resources to relaunch their economies in a sustainable and inclusive way.
Climate financing for African and other developing countries was central to conversations at the summit.
The African Development Bank is at the forefront of climate finance for Africa. The bank has quadrupled its finance for climate to reach $25 billion by 2025. We have increased the percentage of our climate financing devoted to climate adaptation from 26% in 2016 to 55% by 2019.
The summit launched a 10-year global action program, 1,000 Cities Adapt Now, codenamed 1,000 CAN, to accelerate climate adaptation in 1,000 cities worldwide.
The world has a golden opportunity to recover from our health and economic crisis by accelerating adaptation, and we must seize it. You have, I think all of us, global leaders, have a political and moral responsibility to save humanity and our planet.
1,000 Cities Adapt Now will prioritize resilience in poor communities and water-resilient cities. Onengie Fineface, NTA News.
Home following the crisis which erupted in Olu zone, alleged to have resulted in the loss of lives and destruction of property, the Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma has imposed a dusk to dawn curfew as an interim measure to restore peace and order. Bright Igbocho has details.
The declaration of the curfew in 10 local government areas comprising Olu, Osu, Oru East and West, Idiato North and South, Njaba, Isu, Nwangela and Nkwere follows the activities of alleged militants who unleashed mayhem in Olu zone. Governor Hope Uzodinma, while briefing journalists in Owerri, condemned the violence, stressing that the destruction of lives and property is uncalled for, as no group of persons have the right to take the laws into their hands.
The government condemns in its entirety this act of extreme hooliganism and brigandage. This is completely unacceptable to this administration. Those behind this callous barbarism will surely regret their actions.
While calling for calm in the affected areas, the governor notes that the dusk to dawn curfew is expected to be adhered strictly to, assuring families of victims of the clash that the perpetrators will be brought to book. He further stresses that the situation is under control and urges law-abiding citizens to go about their businesses without fear of molestation. In Owerri, Bright Ebuchu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has commiserated with the government and people of Sokoto State over the recent fire incident at the Sokoto Central Market. The message was delivered by a delegation led by the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. Dalhatu Abdullahi reports.
The federal government delegation was led to the burnt market by Governor Aminu Waziri Tambol. Tambol told the delegation that 60% of the market was touched by the inferno, destroying valuables. The incident, he said, was caused by an electrical fault from the transformer serving the market. Tambol appealed for support from the federal government to cushion the losses incurred by the traders. The head of the delegation and the chief of staff to the president, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, said they were in Sokoto to convey the president's sympathy over the unfortunate incident. He said President Buhari expressed shock over the losses and that the federal government will support the state government in rebuilding the burnt structures at the market.
The economic impact is not limited to Sokoto State, it extends to neighboring countries, it extends to neighboring communities, and its impact on the economy of Nigeria as a whole.
The delegation was also at the Sultan's Palace to convey the president's sympathy to the Sultanate Council, during which Sultan Muhammad Saad Abubakar expressed gratitude to the federal government for its urgent show of concern and response. In a related development, members of the National Working Committee of the PDP have commiserated with the government and the people of Sokoto State over the fire. The national leadership of the PDP called on the affected traders to see it as destiny from Allah and prayed for protection from future occurrence. In Sokoto, Dalhatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
While the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, has sympathized with the victims of the recent Sokoto Central Fire Market incident, which destroyed shops worth billions of naira. In a statement issued by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Bashir Nura Al-Khali, the minister is saddened by the news because of the huge loss to the victims, especially in these hard times when people are trying to make ends meet. Farouk commended all the federal and state fire authorities, traders, and concerned citizens that assisted in putting off the fire. The federal government has again assured Nigerians of security agencies' determination and vigor to sustain its ongoing onslaught against criminal elements in the country, in a bid to restore peace as well as protect lives and property. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed stated this at a ministerial briefing in Abuja. Anthony Forson completes the report.
The Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, accompanied by his counterpart from Interior, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, referred to President Muhammadu Buhari's New Year Day broadcast to the nation, where the president resolved to re-energize and reorganize the nation's security apparatus in a bid to enhance their capacity to engage, push back and dismantle operations of both internal and external extremists and criminal groups waging war against communities in parts of the country. In this regard, Lai Mohammed noted that with the federal government's resolve to enhance the security of lives and property of citizens, the results are beginning to manifest.
Since the beginning of this year, which is barely 3 weeks old, the armed forces of Nigeria have neutralized 158 criminal elements across the country. This in addition to scores of other terrorists and armed bandits killed during airstrikes.
These and more results, the minister maintained, did not come easy.
They have come as a result of the unrelenting efforts and sacrifices of the gallant officers and men of the military, as well as other security and intelligence agencies. that conduct operations across the country. Even though some of the troops paid the supreme price in the course of the operations, the security and intelligence agencies have consistently exhibited gallantry and resilience in the various operations.
While 118 bandits were killed in the northwest, 11 kidnapped victims were rescued. In the same period, a total of 358 livestock and 5 assaulted rifles were recovered. In the northeast, equally, 30 terrorists, including their commanders, were killed by troops and several gun trucks captured.
The troops from the 402 Special Forces Task Force Brigade had on Wednesday encircled some terrorist enclaves at Abagajiri and inflicted heavy casualties on them. Apart from the 5 who were killed, many other terrorists escaped with gunshot wounds.
In the North Central, the minister said Operation Safe Haven, operating in that axis, succeeded in rescuing a number of kidnapped victims, just as armed bandits and militia gang leaders were killed. In the South-South, troops of Operation Delta Safe embarked on an anti-crude oil theft and illegal oil bunkering operation. In the course of their operation, 24 illegal refinery sites, 11 wooden boats, 17 dugout pits, and 45 ovens were destroyed, while 30 suspects were arrested and a total of 684,856 barrels of stolen crude oil, along with 1,724,000 liters of illegally refined automotive gas oil, AGO, as well as 500,000 liters of DPK were recovered. In the southwest, troops of Operation Awazi destroyed several illegal refining sites and arrested 6 boats engaged in illegal activities. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Take a commercial break. Panorama continues shortly.
Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
Glad to have you back. The Nigerian economy is expected to exit recession by the end of the second quarter in 2021, as experts project a gross domestic product growth to rebound from 1.7% to 2%. Amaka O completes the report.
Contrary to a total lockdown witnessed in the previous year, there are sustained economic activities in the country despite the second wave of COVID-19 being felt across the globe. Owing to this, experts predict the economic outlook for 2021.
At least by end of June, we should see a sign of true. The economic cycle should be around the true, stage. Then from there, we can now start looking at how we are going to be growing the economy.
With the successes recorded in the capital market, signing of 13.5 trillion naira budget of recovery into law, reopening of the nation's borders, and implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. These are among other steps taken by government, which include the amendment of the 2020 Finance Act and the clamor by the federal government to block all leakages in collection of taxes. Experts say these factors are expected to stimulate economic growth in 2021.
The economy is looking better than what we had last year. What we are seeing at the end of the day is the various stimulus package under the economic sustainability plan. And most important among all of this is the MSME Survivor Fund.
The insurance sector would also be very busy this year as they try to meet the capital requirement that the NICOM had placed for them. So that is going to be, one of those activities that will drive markets in 2021.
Experts also say that with a sustained recovery plan in place, the economy is expected to surmount all negative impacts of the second wave of COVID-19 to stay afloat in the days ahead. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
Talking more about the economic outlook for 2021 is Gabriel Idahosa, Vice President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He joins us live via Zoom. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, Nigeria is in recession. Can you explain to us what that means to the average Nigerian who re-echoes this statement whenever it is convenient?
Well, for the average Nigerian, there is no sign or landmark that indicates that recession has started. Recession essentially is a technical term used by analysts to describe any economy where the gross domestic product has declined for 2 consecutive quarters, and the economy is described to be in recession. But for the individual, he only perhaps feel recession when his incomes are no longer able to cover the kind of things that he used to afford over a prolonged period. It may not be 2 quarters, but when he begins to sense that his incomes can no longer carry him as far or her as far as he used to go, then the individual will feel that there is a recession. So that's recession as far as the individuals are concerned.
And what promises does the year 2021 hold in terms of improved economic prospects?
Generally, the world has started to experience and is experiencing improved economic prospects for essentially one reason. The surprise element of the coronavirus is no longer there. And so most economies and individuals are adjusting their economic activities and their life generally to the coronavirus environment. So from schools to factories to hospitals to all economic activities, there are various ways that individuals and enterprises and governments have organized safety protocols that allow economic and critical social activities to continue. So we begin to see that the economy is growing slowly, picking up slowly across the world, and it's expected to continue because the 2 factors that brought the recession around the world, coronavirus itself, leading to a crash in commodity prices generally, are reversing because all related economic activities have adjusted to a certain level that is compatible with the coronavirus. The coronavirus situation itself is being addressed significantly in most countries, from vaccines to medications to personal protection protocols and more extensive enlightenment of the people as to how to live in this situation. So yes, we expect to see improvement, but the level of improvement will vary from country to country, reflecting their capacity to address the COVID-related situations.
And what role is the second wave of the pandemic currently playing in all of this?
Well, the second wave is increasing the challenges that economies are trying to face. It's only increasing it. It is not substantially a surprise because most countries actually predicted the second wave, particularly across the Western world, the Northern Hemisphere. When winter comes after the first wave of any pandemic that is related to the cold weather, a second wave is almost likely to happen. And throughout the Western world, there have been warnings about the second wave, and generally they have been better prepared for it than say countries in the tropical regions that were not in any case heavily affected in the first time. So yes, the second wave is here, is expected, but it's not going to produce any significantly worse situation. Because in any case, as the second wave arrives, most countries have started taking the vaccines, and most countries have already put in place sufficient safety protocols that would have remained even if there were no second wave.
Now, what needs to be done by the government and businesses to stay on the path of progression?
Essentially, there are two directions for trajectories of strategies. There are strategies for businesses who are profiting from the situation, from the telecom industry that is now thriving extremely well from virtual meetings, to the providers, the healthcare industry that has to address the COVID-related situations. Those industries are doing extremely well. For those industries that are affected, they are finding ways of doing business within the COVID environment. So a lot of factories have been redesigned to space out workers from their normal positions. A lot of businesses now do working from home as a strategy, and they have continued to do businesses. Some businesses are directly impacted.
Okay.
They really don't have an option. For example, if you are in the aviation business.
All right. Thank you so much, Gabriel Idahosa, Vice President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, for those insights on economic prospects for the year 2021. Many thanks.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, again. Now, latest figures from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control shows that 1,430 new cases of coronavirus have been recorded in 19 states and the FCT, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 122,996 in Nigeria. Out of the new infections, Lagos reported 744 cases, followed by Plateau with 100 cases, Oyo 77, the FCT 75, Nasarawa 74, Katsina 48, Edo 42, Kano 41, Enugu 37, Rivers 34, Ogun 33, Kwara 32, Niger 28, Ebonyi 27, Kaduna 26, Borno 12, Yobe 10, Ekiti 5, and Gombe 1. So far, 98,359 have been discharged, with 1,507 deaths on record. Up next is Sports Update with Bade Adeleye.